why would you consider creating an e-commerce platform for your products? And I get it. Most manufacturers work with distributors, with other, channel partners, salespeople. There's a complex network for your sales process. I get it. But keep in mind that customers want to shop 24/7, right? Just take yourself, for example. Maybe you go to Amazon or eBay or the other, hundreds and thousands of platforms. You want that content now. You want that product order now so you can get it sooner than later. So be thinking, how can we help our customers get those products sooner? Another thing to consider is, how can I stand out from my competitors, right? How can I be different? How can I be better? How can I serve more? And an e-commerce platform might be the way to do that. Times are changing, right? In personal sales, trade shows, in person, traditional selling, all of those things have been shattered. If not changed minimally, they've been changed drastically. And e-commerce is something that you can consider to disrupt that market and stand out from your competition. Since I started my company in 2003, I've seen websites go from, hey, we just need a basic site, to we've got to have video content, content marketing, so FAQs, training videos, safety videos, a lot of, a whole library of content, as well as blogs and articles. And having your website be that resource is becoming a necessity. And more companies are losing big or gaining big just because they have some of the features of a modern website, a modern business. And a lot of that has to do with what's on your website. Do you have an e-commerce platform? Are you involved on some social platforms where your customers are? So that is something to consider. And then e-commerce helps you diversify, right? Maybe you can't go to all your customers because you're your channel partners, but what if you figured out, how could we take this model and go to a specific customer segment? Or what if we took our top 20% best-selling products and would just put that on an e-commerce platform? See, there's a lot of opportunities, and so it just requires some thinking on how you could do it versus, we can't do it, Jeff. But how could you do it? How could you make it happen? How could you make it work? I've talked with different manufacturers all across the US, and they might be working with a big channel partner. But what if you lose your biggest channel partner, your biggest distributor, your biggest sales pipeline? What happens then? Do you have a backup in place? That's another reason why I want you to consider an e-commerce store, is because you can start building that platform so that if a distribution or channel partner does leave, you at least have a backup plan. And then the internet has leveled the playing field, right? You used to have to go through distributors. And I'm not saying that model is gone at all, but you now can go direct to customers where you didn't even have that potential 10, 20, 30 years ago. You had to go through different channels, whereas now you might not have to. So be asking yourself, what are some ways you can go direct to the customer? Could you create a custom branded e-commerce store, either for each of your channel partners, maybe you have 10, 20, and I get it, if you have hundreds, that's a different story, but could you create a white labeled online store, maybe for your top channel partners, pick your 5 or 10, and have it branded towards them? Or what if you had specific pages on your website and the products were branded towards them? So there's different ways to do that. And we can talk semantics later. Feel free to drop me an email and we can talk about that. But there's some opportunities that I think a lot of manufacturers aren't thinking yet, but I guarantee it, your competitors are probably already thinking about it. So you should too.